Hey guys, it's Nicole. Welcome back to Chronicles of a Crafter. So today we are going to pick up where we left off when we were making this cover made out of a canvas that I've scored and cut off the frame from, and we're going to stuff this little chunky book inside of it. I was going to go with some paper that goes into this book, but I decided to go with some watercolor paper. So basically it's like canvas, it's like a painting paper, art paper, and also I have in here some Bristol paper, so it's a little bit thicker than normal cardstock, and this one has a linen finish to it so that the watercolors will stick to it. So it's just some artsy paper. I'll show you what they look like. I picked these up at Michael's, and they were basically buy one get one free. So this is the Bristol paper. It is 20 sheets in here, but they are super thick. I'm trying to see the weight of it. It just says heavyweight, acid free, but I don't know exactly what the actual weight of it is. It does not say, at least not from, oh, here it is, 100 pound. Right here, 270 GSMs. Okay, so this one is 140. This is the watercolor paper, and you can see like it's very textury. It's 140 GSM and 140 pound, 300 GSM. Both of these are 9 by 12 in measurement, and they fit somewhat fairly close to the size of the book that we're making. I did have to score around the edge or cut around the edges to fit this into the cover that I've already started. So let's just pick up where I left off and go from there. I think it's time to finish this up. I basically took a piece of elastic, and I'll show you what my elastic looks like. I believe I have this in my links down below of the description box, and this is just some 3/4 inch elastic that I'm using to close this up. So I'm putting this on the edge here with some Fabrifix for the closure. And again, this is just going to be a removable book cover. Here is the book that will go in there. Here is the cover, and this is where the book will live, just like so. But of course, I couldn't just end it right there with just ink splotches all over it. I am going to stamp something pretty on here. I've been waiting for a package to come in, but it hasn't arrived yet, so I'm just going to go with what I have on hand, and then we will see what we get later on during the course of the day. So I'm using my stamping pad. This is a there's no name on this. I don't think it matters. It's by Sunlit. I got it on Amazon, and it's just a generic stamping pad. I don't have a really fancy one, but I'm okay with just this. I think this works out just fine. So if you don't have anything similar to this, feel free to use an oversized stamping block if you have that. Here's a much longer one. Yeah, so whatever you have on hand, go ahead and use that. But I have this pretty generic stamping pad here. I am going to use my VersaFine in Clear, and again, I still don't know the difference between the Clear and the regular VersaFine, other than the fact that the regular VersaFine is for fine details. I believe that's what it says. Yep, for fine details. So this is just an oversized stamp. It's gonna just go along the edge here. It is sort of like a lace. I'll show you what that's supposed to look like. It's like a lace print. So yeah, I'm just gonna stamp that on here and put that as my edge, the border edge around the sides of the book cover. So I'm just going to get some ink all around here, and I'm trying to get the ink only on the stamp and not on the stamping block, because wherever you put ink, that's going to end up on your project. So yeah, I'm just trying to get ink only on the stamp, and that's why this little stamping pad works out really well. So I am going to place this down, and hopefully it works, and if it doesn't, I'm not going to cry, I promise. There's no crying in crafting. So yeah, I'm just going to apply lots and lots of pressure onto this and try to get as much of that ink to transfer as possible. So yep, and then we'll see what we get, because I'm not even sure. I did not test this anywhere. I've never used this stamp before, so we're trying it out together live on camera, because that's what I do, crazy things live on camera. All right, so, and nothing transferred. Isn't that special? So what I'm thinking I'm gonna have to do, very little of it transferred, and it's just around the edges right here, and I think it's because I have a little fold on here. I don't really know what I'm going to do, actually. I need to leave this right where it's at and get the rest of this to transfer somehow, so I don't know. Let's just see. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to do. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this entire thing. I'm going to pick it all up together. Wish me luck. And I'm going to apply pressure to it this way. Let's just do it this way. And hopefully this works out. Otherwise, we just ruined our cover. No, never ruined. It's just altered. So we will adjust as we go along if this does not work, but I've got high hopes that it does. And let's see. Not bad. Not bad at all. I think that worked out fairly well. Okay, so that's gonna go here as our front flap, just like so. Alright, I'm not really happy with it, but I'm happy that it transferred. I'm going to give this a second or two to dry and do the exact same thing over on this side. Alright, so again, I'm going to go in with diversifying ink. And I'm just going to apply ink everywhere on here, just to keep it consistent, right? Because even though it's not exactly what I was hoping would happen, I'm going to keep it consistent and do the exact same thing over on the other side. And then we'll alter as we go. We'll adjust. So let's just move this out of the way now that we know that this won't work for our process. And I'm just going to put this down over here on this side. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, here we go. And the only reason why the other side didn't work was because I had to keep that fold in it in order, this little fold right here, in order to get the canvas as close to the edge as possible. But now that we flipped it over, I can still see where my fold is, and I've just bypassed it and went down some, and I'm stamping it right about here. And I think it looks okay. It just darkens the ink splotches that we made. So let's see what we got. Okay, so it's again not accepting it the way that I have it, so I'm going to flip it over and apply pressure from the other side. And hopefully this will work. If you hear banging at the door, that's actually my little vacuum cleaner. Okay, so yeah, that came out much better than it did initially. Yeah, that came out much better. So let me just clean this up, and I'm going to use a couple of smaller stamps to fill in the rest of this. So let's just see. I'm going to use this butterfly. I like this. I'm going to put it on a stamping block. I'm going to use VersaFine ink, and I'm just going to stamp all around in various places. So stamp there, There, that looks pretty good. I'm going to stamp one down here. Okay, not bad. And I may use this again elsewhere, but I also want to stamp something like this full page stamp. Let me grab a smaller one. I'll use this one. Even though this is going to be on the fold, yeah, I'll use this full page stamp right here. And my stamping pad, this guy. So now I know I need to stamp the canvas to the stamp and not the stamp to the canvas. So I'm just going to apply VersaFine all around the entire stamp and then apply the canvas to the stamp and stamp it on there. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. Let me just clean up the mess. And yeah, I'm just going to stamp this directly in the middle. And let's hope for the best, right? Okay. Not too shabby, guys. I'm loving it. You can barely tell on camera, but it came out really sweet. So I'm going to leave that like that. Let's just see. I did want to put a couple of these little guys, so I will just stamp some of these. This is like little threaded circles, little circles of thread. So yeah, I'll just stamp these randomly around here. And we'll call this one done. These circles actually look pretty cool. I'll put a couple on the edges. Okay, I'm going to call this done. This is going to be my outside cover. Again, the camera doesn't do it very much justice, but it does look really good in person. Alright, I'm going to set this down to dry for a little bit. Some of the ink is still wet. As you can see, it's all over my fingers. And let me go clean my hands and I'll be right back. Alright, now that the ink is finally dry, and trust me, it took pretty much all day, I'm just going to cover this up with some clear gesso just to protect it, make sure that everything stays sealed and in place, and then we will stitch or glue the edges and then insert our book over here, which is right here, and we'll be done. Like, it's so simple. The longest process is the drying part. So after we've inked it, we had to let it dry. Then we stamped it and had to let it dry. And then it's just gessoing to protect everything. And hopefully this will dry. Well, it is clear, so hopefully it will dry with all of my stamping intact. And then we'll be done. So this is just the final protective coat that I'm putting on here. And then we'll be all done with this process and move on to the next step, which would be to create the little pocket that the cover of the book will go into. So I'm just very lightly coating this clear gesso on the top cover, and I'm trying not to like get too much of the ink to blur or smudge. So I'm just lightly coating it. And the ink that I'm referring to is not the stamping ink that we used today, which was the VersaFine Clear. I'm talking about the alcohol inks, these that we used to start the project. All right, so I think we will just let this dry again and be all done with that. So 2 ticks for you, probably 30 minutes for me, and I'll be right back. Alright, so while my ink is drying and my gesso is drying and everything else, I thought I would go ahead and staple this book together with this really cool stapler that I received. It's a wide mouth stapler that you can slide your book all the way in and then staple the end over here in the position that you need it to go into. However, I'm using some really thick paper, and let's see, it's about I want to say 6 sheets of both watercolor and Bristol board paper, and that's not going to allow the staple to come all the way through. As you can see, I did try it in a couple of spots. It just didn't reach all the way through. So to make my life just ever so slightly easier, I'm just going to use some elastic cord here in the middle of the book, and therefore when I do fill up these pages with art or what have you, I can then just slide them out and replace them with some new paper. So it's very versatile to have elastic as your closure, or you know, your spine, the item that's holding the spine together, I guess. So here, instead of stapling, we're just going to cut a little piece of elastic, and I'm going to tie it up in the middle of the book, and that's going to hold all of my pages in place. And I'm going to keep the knot or the tie on the back side of this book right here near the spine, and just going to tie it in a knot. It should hold, and then we're going to slip it into our book cover. So to make the book cover hold the book in place, I am going to use some Fabrifix glue and make those little pockets that we talked about. So now we have this little doodad right here, and our pages will, you know, turn like a normal book would, but it's all removable, right? It's very, very flexible for its use. So here we have our book cover. I just want to make sure everything is facing right side up, and these are the little pockets that I was talking about. I'm just going to use a little bit of Fabrifix glue, and by a little bit I mean very little, because the space that we have to slide the book in and out of is very small. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the top and bottom right on the stitch mark. So I know that my book will fit in between here, between the top stitch mark and the bottom stitch mark. So that's where I placed the glue, above the stitch mark. And I'm just going to place a couple of clips to hold that in place. And that clip fell. So I'll grab another there and here, and then I'll do the same thing on the front side. So this is our actual closure that's going to wrap around the entire book when we insert the book insert, this section right here. So this right here is what's going to keep the entire thing closed, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just put a little bit of Fabrifix glue at the edges above the stitch mark right there and down here, and then put some clips to hold it in place just like I did the other side. So make sure I have no glue in places I don't need it to be. Fit that right there and clip it, and clip this. So now this has to dry. I'm going to flip it back over because I think my ink, the gesso is still a little tacky and the ink is still a little wet, but in order to wrap this project up, I just want you guys to see how everything will fit in place. Yeah, my ink is even my ink is even still wet. So anyway, this is where this is going to tuck in, just like so. And it's a good thing this is an art journal, so even if I got ink in places that it shouldn't have been to begin with, like, it's art, so it'll just work with whatever it is that I'm doing in this journal. So I just want to tuck that in like so, and then open up this back section and tuck this in. And again, these pages are removable simply by just pulling it out when you're done and slipping in some more art paper. So this is how the book will look once it's done, and this is how it'll close. I can't really do it right now with the clips in the way, but this elastic right here will wrap around the entire thing and close. And I'm getting ink all over myself. All right, so basically we're done with this project. I think you guys can give this a try if you should so happen to come across a canvas at a thrift store, or if you happen to have a canvas and not really sure what to do with it. This is something that you can do, is just turn it into a book cover. All right guys, I'm gonna leave you here. Hope you guys are having a super crafty day. Don't forget to check out my links down below. Hit the bell for notifications after you've subscribed to the channel, and give this video a thumbs up if you're interested in more content like this. I'll talk to y'all in the next video. Stay naturally curious. Bye.